Welcome to the only patient advocate podcast you'll ever need. In this podcast, you'll learn how to advocate for yourself and your family, and where to turn when if that becomes overwhelming. Now, here's your host, Joyce Schulz-Killian, registered nurse and owner of At Your Request Patient Advocate, LLC. She is your private patient advocate. Here at your request to communicate, educate, and advocate with and for you.
Hi everyone, I'm Joyce Schulz-Killian, a registered nurse for 27 years and in healthcare since I was 18 years old. I'm the owner of At Your Request Patient Advocate, LLC. I'm here at your request because I am your private patient advocate, helping you navigate healthcare one puzzle piece at a time by educating, advocating, and communicating with and for you. I'm hoping to give you the tools you need to be your own best private advocate. Find me on Facebook at Your Request Patient Advocate, and on Instagram at JSKICU, and on Twitter at RNAdvocate4U. Hit like and subscribe and tell a friend if you like what you're hear. Today we're going to be talking about the care plan meeting. If you have a loved one in rehab, skilled nursing, long-term care, and even assisted living, you'll be introduced to the care plan. Care plans, I'm not going to start out with any crazy statistics this time. So care plans are a great thing. Care plans are the way you find out what is going on with your family member while they are in long-term care facility, whether it is short-term for rehab or long-term as a permanent resident of the community. The care plan will be completed within 48 hours of arrival at the facility and presented to the family within 14 days of arrival, or 7 days if their stay is being paid for by Medicare. Then about every 3 months, quarterly, unless there are significant changes that require an update. The only acceptance is assisted living. The plan is called a service agreement, and it is held yearly unless requested at another time or there is a change warranting a no service plan. The only other exception to that is when you're in rehab being paid for by Medicare, then the first care plan will be within 7 days, and then it'll be about 7 to 10 days. Every 7 to 10 days, you'll have another care plan. So, because Medicare is being updated, and then there is a chance that they will no longer pay. So you have 100 days guaranteed under the rehab benefit, not guaranteed. You have 100 days offered to you, but there are requirements through Medicare of how to keep that participation going. The family may also request a meeting at any time per the federal guidelines, and we'll talk about the federal guidelines at the end, where to find them. The care plan team uses a standard document called RAI, the Resident Assessment Instrument, which has the minimum data sheet in it, MDS. These are standardized and utilized guidelines to measure where the person is and helps to develop the plan of care. There will be a lot of people that are a part of the care plan conference. It is made up of members of the team taking care of your family member, and they will all be represented in some way, and also family members wanting to be involved, and the resident themselves is there at the care plan meeting. Nursing, social services, physical, occupational, speech, or restorative therapy are all there in some way or another. Dietary is there. These are most likely the department leaders and not actually people that have cared for your loved one. But they could be. They could have a physical therapist there that's worked with your loved one, or a therapist, or somebody from dietary who's passed a tray to your loved one, but it's highly unlikely. Sometimes they have CNAs there. That's also highly unlikely. You can ask for that. But again, these meetings are kind of scheduled on one day and then kind of just rotely done, throughout the day, every 10, 15, 20 minutes. So let's go through the team and their roles. There's somebody from nursing that comes. They presents the medical information, the vital signs and any medical changes noted based on labs or their assessment. I would ask for a current medication list prior to the meeting so that you can follow along and ask appropriate questions about the medications if there's some there that aren't familiar to you. Ask how often the as-needed medications are being used, like the PRNs. They're at the end of the list. They're Colace, Duonebs, Tylenol, or other pain meds. Ask if they're being utilized. Ask how often the person is asking for pain meds. Ask if labs were done recently and ask for printed results and ask them to explain them to you what they mean. Ask them to explain things you do not understand. Tell them to dumb it down if you need to. Healthcare professionals use language and initials or abbreviations we may not understand. Ask them again to explain what you don't understand. This care plan meeting is for you. It's to give information regarding your loved one. It's information for your loved one to get information about their plan of care. Ask if the doctor will attend or if the nurse is their representative. Usually a doctor does not attend a care plan meeting. It would be nice to have medical representation, but that generally does not happen. Dietary. Dietary comes in. Again, these are probably leaders of the department and not people passing and picking up the trays. They're going to tell you what the current weight is and what the last weight is and if there were any changes, what their current diet is, if they're having any problems eating, how much do they eat? Those are going to be questions you're going to want to ask. Are they aware of the residents' likes and dislikes? These papers should have been filled out long ago, like at the very beginning when you went through the acceptance process, the admission process. Ask for a menu. Some are monthly, some are weekly. Sometimes in assisted living, they go down and they order restaurant style. There's 3 different meals that are offered, and they can order one of those or something off of a general menu like hot dogs, hamburgers, sandwiches, things like that, soups. But ask how they are, how the menus are filled out if they are, and if you can see one to see what the offerings are. How are meals selected? That's what you want to know. Social service or the social worker will be there. They're there to speak on the emotional needs and goals of the resident. If there are social issues going on, here's the chance to ask about those, how the person is adapting. If they're having issues adapting there, this would be the person that can help to relieve that for them. Somebody from the activity department should be there. Sometimes a representative will be there to represent the activities department to inform everyone how the resident is responding to activities. If they are going to activities, if they're not attending activities, they too should be aware not to try to take the person to bingo if they dislike bingo. So they should know their likes and dislikes. All of the rehabs will be there. That means physical, occupational, speech, and sometimes restorative. If a person isn't on a rehab being paid for by Medicare, and you don't have rehab in place at this point in time, then it's a restorative rehab that comes in, and they generally just maintain the person, hopefully. They will be reporting on each of their specific therapies and giving an update on the present level of functioning. It is important that they have a good understanding of where the person was prior to coming to the facility, for whatever reason it was. If a return to baseline is the desire and there are stairs in the home or whatever it is, they button their shirt prior to coming there, etc. Say they'll need to be getting in and out of a car. Make sure they know it so that they can incorporate this into the plan and make sure that the person is trying to return to their baseline if that is the goal. The resident should be there. The resident can and should attend their care plan, whether they can participate or not. It is their right by law to be there. They are the most important part of the care planning team. Without them, the team wouldn't need to meet. Family. A family representative or any family is invited and accepted. The family should be encouraged to attend, especially if the family member is not able to represent themselves during the care plan due to illness or dementia. The family member, maybe the healthcare power of attorney, has to remember that when they're acting on the behalf of the person and the person's wishes, they're acting on those, not their own wishes. So just because they are opposed to smoking, if their family member wants to smoke and is able, like can get up in a chair and go outside, then they have the right to be allowed to smoke, and arrangements need to be made for that. Whether it's getting them up and out and 15 feet away from the door or down the street or wherever that has to happen, they do have those rights. So as a family member, though, you can't you shouldn't. You can, some do, but you shouldn't make decisions based on what you would want. You have to try to put yourself into the position of the patient and what they would want. The family cannot speak on their own wants. They must represent the family member and their wishes. Same as a guardian. A guardian comes in. A guardian is appointed to somebody. They don't, just because I'm opposed to smoking and I'm your guardian, doesn't mean that I'm going to not allow you to smoke. This is your life, and you have a right to do whatever you want with your life. You can have a professional at your meeting, like an advocate or a care manager, to help you understand. Keep in mind, care plans are usually planned for 1 day a week at the facility, and they run continuous. So make sure you have your list in front of you of your concerns, because the care plan usually lasts only about 10 to 15 minutes. 20 minutes is really pushing it. And if more time is needed, they may defer to another time for you and say that you have to come back. So have your questions ready and come prepared. Have there been any new developments, any behaviors? How does the resident participate in activities or socialize? Get a copy of the calendar. Those are generally posted. They should have one in each room. They should have one out in the hallway. Care plans are the place where information is shared, goals are set with measurable and attainable steps of how to accomplish those goals. If there is anything you do not understand, now is the time. Care plans are the place where the needs of the resident are addressed, and it is the most important tool to assess if the care of the resident is adequate to meet their needs. You can ask for a written care plan, and that must be given within an acceptable amount of time, not weeks or months later. You may be asked to sign in for attendance. That's all you're signing for, is your attendance. You're not agreeing to anything, just that you attended. And if once the care plan is received and you disagree, ask them to change it or write out your disagreements on the care plan and make sure they are documented somewhere in the patient's chart. The care plan is generally a good thing for a good reason. The team walks away with a plan like a roadmap, floor plan, or instruction manual. And wouldn't that be great for everyone involved to have, so everyone is on the same page? The resident has a clear knowledge of his or her goals and the steps that will lead to success of those goals that are measurable and attainable. And the family feels like their family member was heard and their expectations were made loud and clear. Everyone walks away empowered from a care plan meeting. It's a win-win for everyone. That's my spiel on care plans, nice and short. The code of the federal regulations, long-term care facilities, can be found by Googling just that, Code of Federal Regulations, Long-Term Care Facilities. The code is 483.10, and it is the patient rights. And in it, it talks about planning and implementing care. It's number C, and it says the resident has a right to be informed of and participate in his or her treatment, including the right to be fully informed in a language that he or she can understand of his or her total health status, including but not limited to his or her medical condition. Number 2, the right to participate in the development and implementation of his or her person-centered plan of care, including but not limited to the right to participate in the planning process, including the right to identify individuals or roles to be included in the planning process, the right to request meetings, and the right to request revisions to the person-centered plan of care. And highlighted number 2 is the right to participate in establishing the expected goals and outcomes of care, the type, amount, frequency, and duration of care, and other factors related to the effectiveness of the plan of care. So on that note, I would like to thank all of you for listening. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe and tell your friends. I would like to thank everyone who has helped me take the plunge into this podcast and with all my dreams I've had in the past 8 years. Remember, I am your private patient advocate, and I'm here at your request to help you navigate the healthcare system one puzzle piece at a time by educating, advocating, and communicating with and for you. I'm here at your request because I am your private patient advocate. Find me on Facebook at Your Request Patient Advocate, and on Instagram at JSKICURN, and on Twitter at RN Advocate for You. I'm also on YouTube. You can find this and my other podcasts. Hit like and subscribe and tell a friend. Thanks and have a great day, everyone.